this student chapter is mainly based on the career guidance. So based on by considering that career guidance, I have prepared this data. It will be helpful for your future whenever you are entering into the industry. So we can go to the slide. Initially, I'm covering with the compounding machinery. Why we have to do compounding rather than doing process by direct base polymer or resin? Why doing compounding? To enhance mechanical and physical and thermal properties, to enhance the aesthetic properties of the product, and in some application it required colors, visuals, UV. Based on that, we are doing this compounding to reducing costing also. And these are the crucial role. These are the points plays a very crucial role to enhance compound properties. Polymer alloys and blends. Best example I can say PC plus ABS blend alloys and fillers to increase mechanical strength and stiffness, and plasticizers for flexibility improvement, and agent for easy moldability, and antioxidants and heat stabilizers for blown film applications, and UV stabilizers and fire retardant additives for flammability and smoke suppressants. Best example is that our switch boxes and electrical items, and conductive fibers for electric properties, pigments for coloring and better aesthetic. For some parts look good shining, so we are adding a pigments, and fillers for economic viability, wherever we can load more fillers to save more money. And this of extruder system, and there is a single screw extruder, twin screw extruder, multiple screw extruder. Today I am going to cover this twin screw extruder, co-rotating twin screw extruder intermeshing. This is the co-rotating twin screw extruder and
Hello.
compounding task.
Madam,
Whenever we are entering into a compounding line, or if it is a factory, or if it is with a customer end, if it is with a maintenance, or if it is with a raw material segment, we should know, we should be ready to handle this compounding task, like alloying polymer alloys like PC plus ABS or STAL, and then filtering of the polymer melt and degassing unit in the compounding machines, and incorporating to additives and colors we are machine, and major loading of fillers and reinforced with glass filled. Major engineering projects would come up with the glass filled up to 40%, 50%. So these are the major compounding tasks. Wherever line we go in compounding line, we will face. And this is the general layout of the process. This is the twin screw zone, that a compounding zone. I mean, this is a main hopper, main feeder. This is where we are adding polymer additives and fillers, and these are the screw element. This is a kneading element. This is a complete processing zone. Here the atmospheric degassing unit come, and vacuum degassing will come. Since we are adding ingredients of calcium carbonate powder, liquids, so there this atmospheric degassing and vacuum degassing will take comes place. And in side side feeder side feeder and filler additives or it will come additives based on the output. The side feeder we are using, and then twin screw elements and segmented barrels and diameter ratio. And twin screw elements, this co-rotating twin screw is made up of different kinds of screw elements. This is called as screw elements, and this is kneading. This is a kneading blocks. This is a conveying screw elements. It's mean called it's a conveying elements, and each of the screw elements and conveying elements is fitted in this shaft. I will show in the next slide. And this is a segmented barrel. This is a segmented barrel type. And for twin screw compounding extruder, we should know what is this DODA ratio. This DODA ratio is outer diameter of the screw, and this is the shaft inner dia. So we need to know, if you consider as a machine zone, if you consider some companies like Coperion or Steer or least streaks, they have a unique DODA ratio. For example, some companies have worked with this DODA ratio of 1.50. Some companies will work 1.71. Some companies will work 1.66. Based on this DO ratio, the shaft safety will be more. And these are the few pictures of screw elements. And this is a element. This is so-called conveying element, and this is a kneading element, which plays a major role in kneading dispersion in twin screw extruder. And this is also a conveying and kneading elements in the left. And these are some few pictures of screw elements and kneading elements. This is a kneading element in a detail. So this kneading elements ensures the good dispersion and energy input melty and good dispersion ratio of the end product, so that the MFI and the melt quality will be good after once we make a compound. And these are the few basically the twin screw extruders. We are considering LBD ratio based on the application. There are many varieties of LBD ratio, and for the below application and below products, 40 we are using a 40 LBD ratio, and for this below application and below images, 44 LBD ratio we are using. ABS compounds, polycarbonate compounds, PP based column batches, and these are the images products. And next is 48 is to 1 LBD ratio. This is we are using in for a mono concentrates, pigments, mainly for blown film application. This 40 end users 40 is to 1 LBD ratio we are using, and some few product for 52 is to 1 LBD ratio. PP compounds, PP filler master batches, white master batches, PP LLDP, TaO2. These are, and above that we are going to use 58 is to 1 also, which helps for high dispersion, like a high loading 85% of calcium carbonate with 50% of PP. There we are 58 is to 1 LBD ratio. So this is the final and this is the compounding operations, how the operates and their downstream look. And this one is extrusion and feeders. From feeders we can in feeders, gravimetric feeder will come, volumetric feeders are there. Based on that, we will feed material into this main feed through, and then their side feeder will take place. After once here the die phase will be there. Once the material get melting and it comes to the downstream, I mean various kinds of downstreams are available: stand pelletizing system, water ring die phase cutting system, underwater pelletizing system, and underwater water ring underwater die. So based on the application, based on the raw material, we are selecting. Based on the output also, we are selecting this downstreams. I mean, stand basically for nylon and glass fill material, we use stand system. For high filling loading up to 80%, 83%, 85% filler, we are using watering die phase cutter. And for wire batches, we are using die phase cutter. For biodegradable compounding, we are using a die phase cutter. And for heavy duty nylon material and with very high output, we are using underwater pelletizing system. And once the pellets comes here it will cut it and it will make it dry. It will make it cut and it will go into the drying, and we are making packing. This is the general layout of compounding industry. Whenever you are entering in a big companies like Polygon, there you can find this complete setup, general layout. So this is the final slide of compounding machines. Next, I'm going to injection molding machinery and overview of IMM technology. Tentatively, 300 million tons of plastics raw materials is processed every year. In that, 60% of processors are using injection molding technology. I mean, injection molding means it's a vertical, it's a vertical injection molding, it's a metal injection molding, it's a co-injection molding machine, and it's a injection compounding. So, including everything, 60% of them are using this injection molding technology. So, we'll go deep about it. And meanwhile, these are the application segment of injection molding machine. There are some very many varieties of products are there, but these are the major industries where plastics injection molding machine contribution is there. In that, in the during Tuesday, past last Tuesday, the existing speaker told many things about injection molding machine, what all the types of injection moldings we have, ram type, all electric machine, and toggle type, and vertical injection molding machine. Based on this product size, product application, we are selecting those machines. You consider this transport products wherever this is a deep drawing project. It had huge opening. For that, people are using RAM type or either two platen machine. So based on this only, we are injection molding machines. Whether it is a all electric or servo or VDP. Based on that, based on this product and its cycle time, its other parameters, we are selecting the machines. And this is the injection molding process requirement. Mainly mold, machine, material, and finally we are getting this product. And this is a small animation video how injection molding works. It's a horizontal injection molding machine. This process is clamping, and then material melting is happening through screw injection, and finally product requires some cooling, so cooling is there, and finally the ejection is happening. And these are the common specification and parameter of the injection molding machine. By considering this is a clamping force tons, 200-ton machine. Here it is a tie bar distance is there. This tie bar distance horizontal into vertical 510 by 510 mm, and platen size where the mold is clamping, their platen size also a main part of this 760 by 760 is the tie bar distance. And opening stroke, minimum mold height, maximum mold height, that we are going to see in the next slide. And this is called a clamping unit. This is called a clamping unit, and this is called a injection unit, and this is called a pump unit. I mean, what is the power requirement, whether it is a servo or it's a VDP, what is the heating capacity for barrel based on the L by D ratio, how many zones of heaters it's required. So that this pump unit we will calculate. We will go now. Next slide. Machine selection key points. In the clamping unit, platen size, clamping force, opening stroke is we have to consider before selecting a machine. Clamping unit, we have to consider these 3 points. In injection unit, we have to calculate the injection weight. I mean, if our product is some 150 grams, for that we have to calculate the injection weight of the product, and injection rate and injection pressure. For injection pressure, because some material have good MFI, some material like ABS, it requires more injection pressure. So based on that, we have different kinds of screws in same machine. There is a screw, B screw, C screw, D screw. Based on the injection pressure and injection rate of the product, we are selecting a machine. And control requirements, PLC will be there. In we are mentioning, we are there through that PLC. We are what is the system power pressure and what is the injection pressure rate we need. We are setting in that control pressure. And this is a basic clamping force requirements. This is the basic formula for clamping force. If we are going to develop a new product, for that we need a mold initially. For that, calculate the clamping force required for that components by calculating total injection pressure into total projected area of the product. Total projected area of the product, because the injection pressure have to reach where the projected area is there. For that, we need a injection pressure, injection speed, injection rate. So this clamping force calculation is very important to before selecting a injection molding machine. And this is a one example. This is a short projected area, and this is a two cavity mold where clamping force equal to projected area into melt pressure. And this is a clamping unit, and this is a mold. This is a mold dimension, and based on machine selection, minimum mold height and maximum mold height, opening stroke, the maximum daylight, we have to select the machine. Depends upon the machine. In some cases, the mold dimension will be 500 by 500. In that, 200 ton, it can be easily accommodated because the tie bar distance is 510 by 510. But in such a case, if we want to load it in 100 ton, it is not possible because that is 420 by 420 tie bar distance. So these points we have to keep in mind before selecting a machine. And meanwhile, in the other segment, the clamping unit, the product, what is the product we are going to run. While this mold is opening, that product should drop automatically. Otherwise we have to take. So the product should get dropped automatically. If it is not possible, there the mold opening stroke is playing a major role. So that daylight, opening stroke, these are playing a major role in this clamping unit. And here it is. This is a mold open stroke. This is a product. This is a mold. This is a mold. From that, the mold have to drop automatically. If the opening stroke is less, then it will not get get dropped. So we will difficulty. So before that, we have to consider this point. And then this mold weight is also plays a major role in injection molding machine. If you consider some 350-ton machine, we can able to accommodate three weight. If you go 4 ton or 4.5 ton, then machine safety is not there. The tie bar breakage or tie bar bending may result. So we have to consider mold weight, mold opening stroke before selecting a machine. And these are the plastics material density. These are the common plastic raw materials which we are using in our plastic injection molding machines. And injection weight, injection rate, and cycle time also. And short weight, have a formula that product weight into cavities plus runner divided by material density. So we will get the short weight for that. And injection rate, injection speed depends upon short weight divided by injection filling time. Mostly, and then cycle time parameters influence. I mean, if the wall thickness is very low, for best example, 500 ml or 250 ml thin wall containers, where the wall thickness is below 0.5 mm, there is no any requirement of cooling. So we will get cycle time seconds to 5 seconds also. But if the wall thickness is increases, like furnitures or its crates, there the cooling time, here it is there, their cooling time takes more time, so that the cycle time will be more. Meanwhile, plasticizing rate will play the major role in cycle time. How fast the melt is plasticizing gram per cc, that is also very important, which results in a good cycle time benefits. And this is a basic concept for power calculation of injection molding machine. Basically, hydraulic. This is basically for hydraulic injection molding machines. For hydraulic injection molding machine, for 200 ton, we have seen that pump kilowatt required is 18.5 kilowatt. That is a servo motor. How we are calculating this pump kilowatt? Mainly pump flow. There is a servo motor and induction motor will be there, and then the pump will be there. So pump flow into pump pressure. Overall, the machine pressure will be, some companies are offering, or some companies are offering 175 bars, some companies are offering 140 bars. So pump flow, by considering pump flow, example 126 liter into pump pressure of 140 or 170 divided by 600, some particular kilowatt will come. So based on this work style, we have to calculate that what is the pump power kilowatt required for that hydraulic injection molding machine. And then the induction motor overload, normally injection motor overload is up to 1.6 times kilowatt rating. If you go for a servo motor, overload up to two times of kilowatt ratings. Mainly induction motor has high inertia, where servo motor has a very low inertia. So we are using the we are applying the servo motor in the instant and accurate positioning of load wherever it is required. And of course, induction motor is a open loop and servo motor is a closed loop. And this is my final stage of injection molding machine, right? And now we are going for a blown film extrusion. And in blown film extrusion, there is a monolayer and there is a multi-layers. Monolayer is a single extruder which is forming through a single die to produce a single layer film. Best example for monolayer, I can say our carry bags, our grocery bags, our garbage bags. Those are the best example for monolayers. They are making from 3, 4, 5 microns to 20 microns for carry bags. Rest some special applications also there in monolayer, and then multi-layers. Multi-layer mean where two or more plastic layers, more extruders through one die to produce a multi-layer film. Why we are going for a coax multi-layer? Wherever the barrier properties required, I mean shelf life, what the product which required more shelf life, like milk, water, oil, or some juices, some chips, wherever the shelf life is required, we have to go for a multi-layer blown film. What is the benefit of that? Because generally if you consider a normal Hudson Orokia milk, that is a 3-layer film. If you consider Kavin Care milk, that is a 7-layer film. So in the same, if we make in monolayer, we have to go for minimum 100 or 150 microns for that thickness. And meanwhile, there will not be much, there will not be any sealability and weldability. So we are going for a 3-layer. So hence the properties of 3-layer and 5-layer, it will give more barrier properties to the product which require a high shelf life. It depends upon the product. We have a various type of recipes. ML, there is a metallocene, there is a LLDPE, there is a HTPE, there is other additives. So there are many recipes are available. The based on the product and market, we are packing by using that recipes. And also the bed, when we compare 3-layer to 5-layer, the best advantage I would say that in 3-layer, if you are making some shrink films, I mean some Coke bottles or water bottles, it's covering by some shrink films. Those shrink films, normally with 3-layer, it is coming 80 to 140 microns. If you go for a 5-layer, we can reduce further 20% of microns, and we can save raw material also. So more layer, multi-layers will help us to save more material with good scent. So these are the main reasons for going for blown film multi-layers. And these are the major application for blown film: industrial packaging segment, technical films, food packaging like lamination films, agriculture, mulch films and shade net films, greenhouse films, and in constructions also. Tarpaulin, they play their constructions. And important terms of blown film to be considered. This is basically important terms of blown film. Before this is a lip gap of the die diameter. This is a what is the die diameter, what is the die size, and what is the neck height of the bubble, what is frost line height, and main important is BUR, blow up ratio, and DDR, drawdown ratio, whether we require a bubble or we require a tube. And this is a machine direction, and this is a traverse direction, and this one is a lay flat width. That normally we call the films, once it gets old, we will call this as a lay flat width. Whenever if you are entering in a any blown film industry, they will use this, what is the width of the film. The machine designs also based on the width of the film only, we will select the machine. Lay flat width and thickness of the film, what microns, what cages they need, and MPM. MPM is a meters per minute. That is called a line speed, where take up nip roller, or how fast they are pulling the film from the die. That is called MPM. That is, if thickness increased, uh, the MPM will be low. If thickness is low, the MPM will be increased. And then output, mostly for extruders. In injection molding machine, we use the terms called, what is the cycle time of your machine. Same thing in blown film or extrusion or co-rotating, we use what is the output of your machine per hour. 100 kgs per hour, 200 kgs per hour, 500 kgs per hour. Based on that output, we will select a machine. And machine travels drawdown and direction drawdown. And these are the some conversion chart. Whenever you are entering in a processing zone of blown film companies, normally we use micron terms, but some people use gauge. 1 micron, 4 gauge is equal to 1 micron. So these are the basic formulas, that basic conversion chart we required before entering into the blown film industry, which helps us. And these are the basic practical formulas for blown film. BUR, blow up ratio. Blow up ratio that we have to do a bubble diameter divided by die diameter, and these are the basic formulas. And this is a drawdown ratio formula, and this is a line speed formula. KGS into 10 to the power 6. Output into 10 to the power 6 divided by lay flat width. The lay flat width may be 100 mm or 2000 mm or 5000 mm into 2. Because why we are putting this 2? Because we are making this bubble flat. So into 60, 60 means 1 hour, into thickness, microns, into density of particular product. So based on that, we are working line speed. Same output is also based on this formula. What is the output? What is the, based on line speed and density and thickness, we are calculating the output. So these are the basic formulas we need before entering into the blown film industry. And this is a just a simple drawing of bubble. This is called a blown film bubble, and this is a die. This is a lip gap, and this called a neck height of the bubble. This is a frost line. This is a frost line overall height, and this is overall bubble diameter, and this is a bubble. This one is a nip roller, pulls the bubble, which pulls the bubble from the die, and which helps us to make this bubble into flattening. This is called lay flat width. Towards machine direction it is going, and this is a rolled film. This is called a thickness, where we mention this a micron or gauge. And this is the film thickness calculation. Film thickness calculation output, this is kg per hour divided by output divided by k value into lay flat within by inches. Normally it will come in mm, or we have to convert that into inches into meters per minute, that is line speed, mpm. And this is output kgs per hour. Lay flat with inch into 2 into 2.54. So these are the basic formulas to calculate output and film thickness. And multi-layer, about general terms about machine. This is a multi-layer. This is 3-layer. 3 extruder will come, 1 die will be there. This is called 3-layer, and 5 extruders are there with 1 die, 5 layers, and 7 extruders are coming. It's a 7-layer, and we have a 9 layers and 11 layers also overall in the market, but very very low. So far in India, we are started to use 7 layers also. And this is this normal 2D line diagram of blown film extrusion. These are the extruders. Here it is a die. This is a diagram of dies. From there the bubble is coming. This is called a air ring, which is cooling from outside, and the bubble is go. This is called a bubble guide basket, which guide the bubble diameter. From that, this is called a flattening board, which flatten the bubbles, and this is called the take up nib. Above that, the oscillating hall off be there. Hall off will be there. Its purpose is to purpose is to help the cage randomization, uniform thickness, and then it is coming under here. Here there will be web aligner to straighten the film, and some treatment will be also there. Corona treater, corona treater for in future printing treatment purpose. And finally it is coming to the winder, and it is a finished roll winder. And this is in injection sorry, in blown film extrusion, normally there are two types, OBC and IBC is there. Outer bubble cooling and inner bubble cooling are there. Whenever the output is increases and the size of the film we need more, OBC cooling is not more sufficient, which results in poor properties of the film. So we need this is called a IBC system. This is an internal bubble cooling. This air cool, this from here it will cool outside, this bubble will cool inside, so cooling will happen very fast, so that we will get good output and some good properties also. Wherever the output requirement is huge, we are using this IBC, internal bubble cooling, and this is a bubble guide basket. Here the internal bubble cooling will working here in this term. And this is a oscillating hall off. It's above the take up nib, the oscillating hall off will be there. So its role is to make uniform thickness. For cage randomization, everyone is using that. And this is a winder. Once everything has been completed, this winder will roll the films and it will unload the winder. And this is the end of my blown film. And next slide is pipe extrusion. Mainly for pipe extrusion application, PVC, CPVC, UPVC, polyolefin pipes, below application: portable water, waste and sewerage water, drainage, gas, heating systems, drip irrigation, industrial applications, solid pipes, PPR pipes for industrial. So many applications, the pipes as well as PVC, CPVC, PPR, and polyolefins pipes are plays a major role. And this is a general layout of extrusion line. This is a twin screw extruder, and this is called a vacuum tank. And here from this is the die head, and from that the die will give us the internal I mean ID of the pipe. And this there is a in vacuum tank there will be a vacuum calibration is there. It will give us the outer diameter of the pipe. And then there is a after the vacuum the vacuum helps to make the perfect size of the pipe. and cooling because some based on the output and pipes need some cooling. After this cooling, this is a cooling tank. Then some companies may seal their names or ISI, so this is a stamping unit. And then this is a hall off, similar to blown film. This hall off will pull the pipes from here based on this lines. Here also it's mentioned like a mpm, line speed, meters per minute. And this is a cutting unit based on 3 meter or 6 meter, whatever we require. This helps us to cut by there is a encoder synchronized with this hall off, so it will give signal, it will cut based on that. And this is a tripping tube. Once the 6 meter pipes comes, it will take and it will drop that pipe into the floor or our drain or this thing. And finally, these are the basic calculation for pipes. Before configuring a pipe extrusion lines, we need these basic formulas: weight per meter. And for PVC pipes, this is the formula and this is the density. For CPVC pipes, this is the formula and this is the density. And for HDPE pipes, this is a formula and this is the density. For LLDPE tubing, this is the formula and this is the density. And pipe cooling length based on output. We are because normally the cooling tanks and vacuum tanks will come are 9 meter. So what is the cooling length we require? So we have to or calculate this cooling length formula. Whenever we are entering into the pipe industry, we should know about what is cooling length, how we have to calculate cooling length. If we need a if we have to calculate the cooling length of the PVC pipe. So total output, I mean, if you consider 350 kgs per hour output into wall thickness of pipe, multiple by cooling factor of pipe. Even for PVC pipe, cooling factor is 5. Cooling factor for HDPE pipes is 7. Cooling factor for PPR pipe is 10. So we have to apply this formula and we will get the complete cooling. For example, if we are getting a 24, total cooling length is 24. So we have to calculate first 9 meter vacuum tank, rest 15 meters for cooling tank. We have to calculate. This is the output kgs per hour. What is the output we got based on the line speed into weight kg per meter into 60 for 1 hour. And for finding a line speed, output divided by weight kg per meter into 60. And this is a output chart which we prepared. Configuration of pipe extrusion based on output kg per hour. Here it is a outer diameter of the pipe is 19.7, wall thickness is 1.2, and weight per meter is 1.122, and line speed is 8.47. Cooling factor is 0.034, and vacuum bath is for this 19.7. Just 6 meter is more than enough. So we are going with this only this vacuum tank. So total cooling length is 6. So we are going with one vacuum tank. So totally it's here it is the output. And for 50 mm, if wall thickness increases, the cooling length will also increases. So here it is there. So overall the wall thickness is 3.2. Here it is 3.2, where the cooling length is more. So we are going with one vacuum bath, meter vacuum bath, and one normal cooling bath. So this cooling length and output line speed, this calculation and this worksheet is mandatory for configure any pipe extrusion unit for HDPE as well as PVC. And this is a general, this is extruder, twin screw extruder for PVC. As for HDPE, it will be different. For PVC, it will come twin screw, counter rotating, intermeshing. For HDPE, it's a single screw. It will come. It's a barrier screw, and this is vacuum tank. This is cooling tank. This is haul off, which pulls the pipe. This is pipe cutting unit. Based on the end application, we use the cutter. Some for HTPE, it required a smooth cutting in the edge because post process is a butt fusion process. So we need to cut in the square shape so that we need a Sparflox cutter. The cutter construction will be completely different. But for PVC, if you consider normal conduit pipes, there is no any special requirement, so we can easily cut it into the upstroke cutting. And in some cases, if we are going for a post process of SWR fittings, there we need a in post process socketing is there, chamfering wherever it's required, so we have to go for a special application like chamfering cutting. So case to case, application to application, agri pipes, SWR pipes, plumbing pipes, the cutting unit we have to select. And finally, after cutting unit, this is a sockets in pipes. Major, I mean, this is a normal for conduit pipes, solvent cement plain sockets we are using. This is a elastomeric ring root socket for solid pipes, and O-ring root sockets we are doing for our O-ring for SWR, I mean drainage pipes for to avoid leakage. Here the O-ring will come. So these are the major part of PVC pipes and HDPE pipes extrusion. And this is my end of my technical seminar about plastic processing machinery. Now I want to brief about my own company. I mean, where I'm working. I'm working in a company called this Haitian India. We have a factory in Gujarat, in Mascot Industrial Park, and factory unit 2, we already got a land in Sri City, Andhra Pradesh for South India. So it's yet to construct. And these are our Ahmedabad factory pictures with assembly unit and employees and our stores, spares and stores. And these are our machine models. We offer servo machines, we offer two plate and servo machines, we offer two color injection molding machine, we offer co-injection molding machines, and we offer, this is a Zabir Venus. We offer all electrical machine, we offer a hybrid machine, and we offer two plate and hybrid machines also. And I show one video about our machineries. Toggle machine. And another one video. This is a 2 platen video. And that's the end of my. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raja. I request Mr. Arun to take over, and we have very few questions left in the Q&A box.
Yes, thank you very much for a very good presentation. We'll wait for a couple of minutes for the questions to come up.
Already we have few questions that we can start
Yes,
answering.
can we give it a minute so that we can start them together? I have a couple of mentions. First up, very good presentation. You started with compounding and then took us through all the other machinery. So very well done. Students, of course, have questions and we see how we can follow up on that. I think your contact information is also there if they want. Hopefully, they can get in touch with you. We also have faculty from Kamaraj College of Engineering and Technology, Virudhunagar, and also from SJ College of Engineering, Mysuru today. We would love to get your feedback on the events and see how we can improve these webinars. On behalf of all the participants, I once again want to thank today's speaker. Let me start with the first question. Take from me now.